I did not expect to be making this recording today. I've been doing a lot of other content creation today, and I am quite tired. And I didn't exactly intend to get this enormous bit of information that I just got. But you can't always like pick when you're going to get information. Um, I just went on a walk to give myself a break between uploading videos and adding things to Kajabi and all this stuff. And I was just like, wow, just traveled to Austin, just clean my house and getting things back in order before I leave again to go to on another trip this week. And I was just like, I haven't had a lot of time to tap in and talk to Osho, and I have a lot coming up that Osho would like to work with me on. So I was like, hey, Osho, how's it going? And I was kind of connected to Osho. He's always sharing this or that with me as far as insights, but it's just like, when you have access to, I always say, when you have access to an entire candy store, it's hard to pick what candy that you want to eat, so he can give me answers to anything and has. So I'm like, what do I want to ask him about? But he told me, he's like, talk about the energy of Scorpio season. And I don't know a lot about Scorpio season outside of the fact my daddy is a Scorpio and we get along beautifully. I love Scorpios. I am rarely on a Scorpio's bad side or in general. I'm pretty like get along with everybody. I try anyway. And so Scorpio to me is just someone who's like really comfortable delving into deep things, dark things potentially, which I'm always down for because I work with the underworld and because I was a counselor for so many years. Don't just walk. I was walking through the underworld with people basically every day for my job. So I'm just used to that energy. But I was on a walk and I did record it, but it was windy. And so the recording is poor. And I was like, oh, this is really important information. So I uploaded it to a transcribing app, and I got the whole thing here. My hope is that it is intriguing to you because it certainly is to me. It kind of just blew my brain wide open. It was, what? How? Huh? So if you're interested in Scorpio season, just in general, specifically this Scorpio season, which do note there are some things coming up that are kind of interesting in the country I live in, let's say. So, yeah, as I realized I'm gonna channel about Scorpio season. It took a second to start like tapping in fully because, which is weird. It never takes me long to tap in, but I was on this walk and I'm like, okay, you want me to talk about Scorpio energy? Let's go. And I just kept getting repeated words over and over. Um, dark feminine energy, dark feminine energy, dark feminine energy, which then was revealed as to why. So I'm just going to read it verbatim and try to ad lib as little as possible to just see what you guys can make of this, okay? Thank you for your patience. All right. With deep wisdom, but not to be trifled with. There's a need of respect, reverence. There's a reverence around closing. That's important. That every phase of creation is important. None is more beautiful than another. This is about death, about transcending through. It's not, there's not a finish line. That's what he's showing me. It's going to go through. Okay. Oh, it's like the movie Interstellar, which I watched on the airplane. I've seen it a million times. it hit me in new ways this time. He was going through a black hole that allowed him to go through. He was able to go through, in essence, to reach the fourth dimension, to transcend space and time. Transcend space and time. He didn't stop there, he moved through it. And everything I've been told about black holes is a lie because, yeah, okay, it's a mirror of correspondence. A black hole is a feminine expression in a different form. It's more galactic. And a black hole is gravity that can transcend space and time, just as women are able to transcend space and time and bring about a new creation and potential. But it's been taught to us that it is dangerous and it crushes everything that goes in and never comes out. And it's true, it's transformed. You could use the same metaphor. I'm seeing the chrysalis that is going through that deep form of transformation, a deep form of transformation that feels as though it ends like you're nothing. It comes out in the same way with the chrysalis. It goes in, it transforms, it isn't supposed to be what it was, and then it goes in and it comes out and it's not supposed to be the same. It's supposed to be different, and the same is true. Moving through, like moving through, it's just repeating, moving through. Transformation is moving through. There's no end, it's moving through. It's just going over and over and over and over in my head. So it's important, okay? It's important for people to be focused on that and not an end. That we're moving through to a different dimensional state. And what appears like destruction, the word before that, ineffable. What does that mean, ineffable? So I looked it up. Too great or extreme to be expressed or described in words. Really? No shit. Ineffable. The example, Hebrew, name that Gentiles write as Jehovah is an example of ineffable. I've never even used that word before. So anytime I think I'm just crazy, I can hear a word. This happens in real life. Like, wow, it's ineffable, moving through, like it can't be described, or moving through can't be described. We're moving through. That's repeating. So Scorpio season is an ineffable destruction to be moved through, to bring about a new dimensional state, because we're moving through the black hole, which is the divine feminine resurgence, which is gravity, and gravity transcends space and time. And we're moving through dimensions within the appearance of destruction is transformation. It's just releasing something that is no longer usable, a dress that is no longer usable, into a new form. It's not to fear, not fear being ineffable, because it's a moment where we believe to be one thing and we become another thing. It's like giving birth. And this is when I actually started crying. It's just like, oh, on my walk. Because when you're giving birth, you don't know that you're not going to die. It's like people can tell you, they can tell you as much as they want. You don't know the greatness of that experience until you kiss that baby and you complete that work and you bring through new life. And that new life is an experience that cannot be it. You have to experience it. You can't be told. You cannot be told. And in fact, when you're told, you can't even receive it. You say, yeah, I'm going to be a better mom than that. And then you go through that initiation and then you know, and you can't unknow. And it does change the form that you're in. You go from the maiden to mother, and there's this dissolving of this whole previous identity. It's just a complete disillusion. You can't go back. You can't go back. You can't even try. There are moms that try to hold on to their, like, pre-maternal existence, and then it just looks like it doesn't fit because you have to go through an initiation and you can't go back. You're not meant to go back. These earthly initiations through our primary gender expression. I would say primary gender expression is what I heard, which is interesting. As I say, he's reminding me, he's reminding me the transcendent form of all beings that exist in a higher state are no longer aligned with limiting identities of physical or energetic gender, but are fluid in expression. As are we in both seasons and cycles, we are met with new energies that change our experience, with our energies as they dance through cycles. To maintain, to be the same is to be limited. And so these are initiations experienced in stages through primary energetic states of gender. So gender expression in the masculine or feminine. And as we are moving into this new ineffable state, we are moving through, we are not ending, we are moving through. And it is not to be feared, but to be honored. Comes back to this understanding of honoring the passage of that initiation. That's what our ancestors are, as we are honoring their initiatory path. Like they transcended through that form into another form that we may or may not be privy to, but we honor our dead to acknowledge their transcendence through this initiation of this lifetime that we have witnessed. It's not a matter of succeeding or failing at those initiations. The transcendence is having gone through. It's not like succeed or fail. They're wrong. It's just a matter. Did you transcend? Yes, they transcended. It is not our business as to what that transcendence looks like. Their life here is transcending lessons, integrating experience, whatever that looked like for the parents that failed their kids were kind of like pieces of crap, they've been called. It's neutral. Like I just feel complete neutrality, right? Like one patient I had in a memory care unit when I worked in hospice, he was the sweetest man. Oh my gosh. Every time there was a musician there, he would do like the soft shoe. He had some funky teeth. He was really nice. But there was this time when I was talking to one of his children who was there visiting him. Oh my gosh, your dad's amazing. I love him so much. And they're like, yeah, he's so amazing that he used to slap me at the dinner table if I said the wrong word. And I was like, wow, wow. None of that matters. It is the transcendence. Death is the transcendence of the lesson that intersects with everyone else's lesson. So death then becomes the transcendence of the experience of the individual in that orbit. So just because like a person has transcended and that affects another person, that other person doesn't necessarily transcend or understand because this person is in a new form. Like say for example, it gets really confusing the way I was saying it without context. So say there's a crappy parent and there's a child that was affected by that crappy parent. The moment that crappy parent dies, that's a transcendence through to another form of existence. This child, this adult child, whatever, is like, my parent was a piece of crap. Rah, rah, rah. They did all this stuff. They were horrible. I hope they're in hell. Rah. And so Osho is saying that the fact that the death happened means that they had transcended their lesson they were supposed to learn in this reality. They may have a bazillion other lifetimes left, but the lesson that they signed up for in this reality was complete. And their behavior or how they lived their life and how it affected others is part of their lesson. And it can be awful. It can be awful. But they don't transcend that awfulness yet just because this person transcended it and changed form. This person then has to deal with what was left behind, and that is their initiatory path, among with others. And then eventually they will potentially release that when they transcend. Now, what he was saying about this was, I knew was going to be sensitive for some people because of some awful, awful things that people go through. Trust me, counselor, heard every horrible thing that can happen to anybody ever. I don't think I could be surprised. I don't want to challenge someone to surprise me, but I have heard all the most horrible, gruesome things that exist. and that can be done from one person to another person or whatever, how could you possibly forgive that? Like, how do you allow that transcendence of your own? Well, it's not even about that. It's not about like them getting off the hook. It's what did that experience lend to your initiation for your betterment in your life? And people that are still aligning with victim mentality, which, yeah, you were victimized. They can't conceive of shedding that identity of victimhood when there was such darkness in this experience. But to transcend that is to move through that experience into what comes on the other side. And that black hole is gravity and is the deliverer of the transcendence of space and time, which is the fourth dimension. To go through that, which is the divine feminine, it is a black hole, like it's a negative space, and black holes are known to have a tremendous amount of gravity that crush everything, and so does a divine feminine, can crush everything if she doesn't get pissed off, right? You know, so we go through it. We go through the darkness. We go through the gravity. We go through the density. Let's call it a dark night of the soul. We come out on the other side. We're shedded from that thing, that initiation, that we've transcended it. We are in a new form, a new perspective, a new experience. And you'll notice some people just fall off of your life. It's not necessarily a death, but it's a death of a relationship or a bond. And when they fall out of your life, that means that initiation has been completed for one or both of you, and that lesson is no longer needed. It is a death. It is a rebirth. It is a transcendence of that initiation. And so what Osho is saying here, and I don't think it perfectly captured the tone, but he's talking about Scorpio season. And Scorpio season holds this energy of moving through what feels like death, moving through what feels like I'm not going to make it anymore. We go in, we're changed, we're never the same. And this feels like it's not like foreboding. I don't feel foreboding, but I know that we're entering a time when things are, we can't go back. It's like after 9/11, we couldn't go back to what airports were like beforehand. We couldn't go back to, none of us can go back from pre-COVID to like live a life that didn't touch all of us that way, right? So there's some things you just can't go back. It's too vast, it's too big. And he's saying Scorpio season is bringing that. And because, you know, a lot of people say that they're psychic and they have visions, and I have visions all the time, but they're visions of certain timelines. And I just want to like reiterate what a lot of people in the community share, which is that there are innumerable timelines. And we just, you know, we haven't fully necessarily anchored in timelines because we're always changing from moment to moment. There's an individual and there's a collective timeline. And so what Osho was speaking to today was our current timeline collectively involves some kind of ineffable change, transformation, transcendence. I don't know what that means, but it feels big. And I'm so curious what you're going to think. This channel ended with the understanding that the only way, just like in birth, you have to surrender to the potential that you're just not going to survive it. Like there's a point when it is so painful and so awful where you're just like, I'm just going to die. I guess I'm going to die now. And that's what this feels like. It feels like just you have to surrender and release control and just write it out. And it didn't feel gruesome. It just felt inevitable or ineffable. So take from it what you will, but I was told to share it. So ineffable, move through, transcend. Noted.